Hey everyone, and welcome to Raine's Reveals. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Raine Mertz, the founder and CEO of Raine's Realm, and today we're going to talk about how comparing hurts our kids. So I want to start off by saying that the one big thing that I notice a lot is that as a society we are quick to assume an issue rather than accept a difference. And so what I mean by that is that when we see a difference, we're quick to assume that maybe it's not right instead of just accepting that everyone is different and that people develop differently and have different interests and things like that. So the way that that translates over to our children is in things like the over comparison that happens all the time. So as parents, we are extremely overwhelmed, and sometimes it's easy when we see other families and it seems like maybe they're not having the same struggles that we are, and it's easy to say, well, maybe something's wrong here because they're not struggling with these same things. Well, number one, we don't always know what somebody is struggling with behind the scenes. And number two, children develop differently at different rates. Some children take a little longer to do things in the beginning, and then they just pick up speed and develop like crazy after, and vice versa. And then you have some children that just steadily develop at the same pace. And there's a reason that there is a range. And as parents, we generally always want our children to be at the top of the range, but then there wouldn't be a need for one to begin with. So instead of comparing our children or finding a problem where there isn't one, it's important to accept our children just the way that they are. Now, obviously, you want to be observant if there's a true issue, but if the conceived issue is something like that another child is walking faster or has a larger vocabulary, or puts together massive puzzles with tons of pieces, and your child just isn't quite doing those things yet, depending on the different stages, then that's okay. And we don't have to, as parents, immediately go to that there's an issue. It's okay to just say, my child's going to get that when they're ready. And so I think that it's really important that we give ourselves and our children that room and take that pressure off. And this goes with overdoing it with activities and stuff like that too. There is absolutely nothing wrong with having your children involved in activities, and that's a great thing and helps further develop them. But sometimes we as parents can feel such immense pressure to put our children in tons of activities to the point that it dominates our schedule, overwhelms us, runs us to death. And our children can get overwhelmed and start to underperform when it comes to things like that. And then when that happens, it can make them feel like they're not good at that thing, or they're lacking somehow. And so we want to set our kids up for success by, prioritizing certain activities, but keeping the numbers small enough to be manageable for both you and your children. And that's the key with that. And we want to make sure that we're not overwhelming our children and putting the expectations so high that we're setting them up for failure. So that's the big issue when it comes to things like activities and stuff like that. Maybe you want to get your kid piano lessons, and that's great, and if they're interested in it, then that's a wonderful thing. But if they're not, then we need to be okay with the fact that our child may not excel at every single thing that they try. So these are, and that helps us as parents too, because that helps us with the pressures that we feel as well. When we deal with our child as an individual, instead of comparing our child to other children who have different interests, then we don't feel like we are lacking in some way as parents as well. So it's beneficial for our children, it's beneficial for us, and it just changes the whole culture and feeling of the family and your kid's childhood in general. So these are important things to think about with that. And I want to share just a little insight as well. Sometimes we see other children who may not seem like they're doing things at the same rate as our children, but in the same way that we should be really careful not to label our kids and accept them as individuals, we should most certainly refrain from labeling other people's children as well. So if you are around another child and maybe they're not talking as much as your child does, then it could be that they're just shy, and we shouldn't automatically jump to seeing an issue and recommending things to a parent as far as therapy and things like that goes, because the child may be completely fine and talk everyone's ear off, and they just may be really shy and not want to talk at that moment. But when we have parents who are overwhelmed and things like that, and then we have people that come in and try to diagnose other people's children, it can cause some insecurities in parents that shouldn't be there, and it can cause issues where there aren't any. And so that's something we should really be mindful of, and we should, accept children for who they are and the interests that they have and their personalities and the way that they are, and not worry so much about categorizing and labeling them at such a young age. So I hope that this has been helpful for all of you. I would love to hear your thoughts on this, any experiences that you may have had, anything like that. And if you're looking for a way to incorporate more natural wellness for you and your family, please check out my book, A Month of Crystals and Oils. It's available on Amazon, and I'll put the link below. And I will see you guys later on this week for a fun video on easy snack ideas. Have a wonderful week, and I will see you later.